So if you've ever tried to navigate the Wilmington real estate market, and I'm talking about building, renovating, and of course buying, you know how much is out there. There's a lot of choices, there's a lot of noise, and it can be genuinely tough to figure out who actually knows what they're doing and who's been doing it long enough to trust. And that's what this whole series is about. Over 3 episodes, we're sitting down with Steve Dutton, the founder of Swan Song Properties, to get the full story. Who he is, how he built his company, how he finds properties, and works with the people who bring them to him, and what he actually builds once he has the properties. Welcome, Steve. Appreciate you doing this.
It's great to be here. Having worked with you in the past, you made it so much fun. Last time I jumped at the chance, so it's great to be here again with you.
Well, I'm glad. So let's start at the very beginning.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about where Swan Song Properties came from, and of course, I know you like to talk about this. What does the name mean?
Yeah, well, the origins of the name go back to high school, where I took like my first deep dive into Led Zeppelin. Became like a hopeless fan, still am to this day. And I've always admired the record label name of theirs, Swan Song.
Right.
And in sometime after college, I bought a 1962 32-foot Chris Craft Constellation that had been raised off the bottom of the Providence River. Now, I was a boat builder and a boat mechanic at the time, so I fixed it all up and lived on it for about 5 years. I had always thought that the name Swan Song had a bit of a romance to it and would make a great boat name. So it became the boat name. And then later on, when we started a real estate business, I needed an LLC, and I just grabbed... I just used there it was again, Swan Song Properties. So, that's the full story of the name. And it's stuck. And we've built a good brand in the area with it.
Yeah, you definitely have. And let's talk about that, because you kind of alluded to the boat building and what have you. But before all this, right, before real estate, before building, what were you actually doing for work? Because I do have a feeling that it's a pretty interesting story, and it wasn't this straight line.
You're right. Yeah, there was some zigzags, and I've changed careers officially like 7 times over the years. But in high school, started off working carpentry skills. Loved all the shop classes in high school. And started working at a stair shop. They were building spiral staircases. Oh. So got to work with some real artists in that realm. And then out of high school into college, I started learning, mechanical skills, boat building, particularly engines, that sort of thing. Worked at marinas, started building boats, fiberglass, woodwork, that sort of thing. And those skills came in really handy later on.
Sure.
Because the type of work that goes into boat building is often very precise, of course, So that helped. But then it became a corporate world for several years. Worked with some great companies, Snap-on Tools.
Oh, okay.
Caterpillar. And then later Marine Max here in Wrightsville Beach, so big companies.
So you went the corporate route and then got into it, huh?
I did. Yep, that's what happened. And the corporate world has its rewards, but we made a change into self-employment full time.
And why Wilmington? And don't give me like the billboard brochure answer here. Like, why'd you pick Wilmington?
Well, and I appreciate that. It was just this close to Fort Lauderdale was a strong consideration of where we were moving and by the way, this is like 20 years ago now.
Sure, yeah.
Right? So like the internet wasn't as ubiquitous then as it is now. But we were going to relocate from New England, and I had offers to sell yachts in Fort Lauderdale, which basically is the Wall Street of yacht sales, right?
Yeah.
But I still had like my mail-in subscription to Trailer Boats magazine, and that month's issue, I swear, as we were considering this whole thing, had an article on North Carolina and the boating on the coast of North Carolina.
That's great.
And like the pictures, of the lush green marsh grass and the inland waterways and all the creeks and the little sandbars and beaches. I was like, we got to look into that.
Yeah.
So there was some brochure element to that response,
there
right?
is.
But I went on the computer and dialed up my modem to get on the internet at the time. I swear, and we looked for boat sales job openings in North Carolina. Marine Max Wrightsville Beach had an opening, And we literally like threw the kids in the car, even for the interview, hadn't even gotten the job yet. Threw the kids in the car, drove down there to check the
Wow.
place out, and we fell in love. So we're thrilled about that because we love it here.
Yeah.
Love it.
All right. So when you first got started, what was Swan Song actually doing? And then how has it evolved to what you're doing today?
Sure. When we first got started, we were buying rundown existing houses and essentially restoring them and reselling them.
Oh, okay. You were
Right?
flipping.
We were flipping, okay? Now, I hesitate to use the word because it's got a bit of a bad
Sure.
flavor to it because...
I know you don't like it. That's why.
Well, yeah, right. Thanks for that. No, but it brings up a good distinction because a lot of the competition out there, they do what's called lipstick on the pig, and they'll buy some crappy rundown home and just like clean it up and not do the real, bones work to it that they all need, So we've been very comprehensive in our, I even call them restorations, actually.
In Wilmington, that's what they need.
They do.
Yeah.
And I mean, listen, we specialize in old homes, and a lot of people understandably avoid the old homes because the pitfalls in those things, just the list goes on and on. So we started basically flipping houses, and then we dabbled in some new construction, and we started building these little coastal cottages that we had kind of tweaked to our liking, and particularly Sarah, who has got a real good eye for this stuff. And over time, it's evolved into almost all new construction for a whole host of reasons, one of which is we learned some of the lessons about the old homes, and they, believe me, they can take you down. But we also, over the years, we would accumulate, a lot here and there, but we've always had realtors bringing us, we've developed relationships with realtors over the years because we were buying their listings.
Yeah.
So that evolved into like a team of scouts, essentially, right? They know we're buying these things.
We're going to definitely get into that.
Yeah, right. So
it's
we've got a whole history of restoring homes, particularly old homes, but now we've kind of steered the ship more towards these coastal cottages that are becoming a big hit, and we're really enjoying that a lot.
Episode 3 is going to be all about those.
Excellent.
So I'm excited to talk about them. But I'm curious if there's a part of this business that still drives you a little crazy after all these years.
Yeah, there is actually, and even more crazier in recent years because it's become almost annoying, right? And I swear, I just got a postcard in the mail. You probably get them. I get them. I get text messages, right? And it's gotten crazy in recent years. It's called wholesaling, and there is a place for wholesalers. There's several in town that are reputable, and I could, but I don't need more than one hand to count them.
Right.
What happens is instead there's like this nationwide army of these desk dwellers who are sending out these postcards saying, "I'll buy your property, I'll buy your house, I'll buy your land." Right? Gotcha. I get them. Everyone I know gets them, and they drive me crazy. Yep. I get text messages like 10 a day. I'll buy your land. And, I'm at the point where I mess with them now. Like, yeah, which one? Right. We go back and forth. I waste their time because they drive me crazy. The problem is, unlike the handful of them who are actually legitimate, particularly in your area,
right,
most of them don't live anywhere around here. They're trying to lowball people who, have a need, a legitimate need to sell their property. They lowball them. They get them to sign a contract at typically a below wholesale price, and then they come find the Steve Duttons and Swan Song Properties of the world, and they sell me the contract at a premium. It's called an assignment. Wow. And they make what's called an assignment fee. That's a whole other rabbit hole, between realtors.
No one knows that's going on. I mean, they're typical, we don't know that.
That's
your world, you guys know it, but we don't know that.
Well, I'm trying to bring awareness to it because people are selling their properties for, less than they have to, right? And you don't always have to get a realtor. Again, a wholesaler can, get something sold quickly. But in most cases, particularly the out-of-town ones, they find the cash buyers in that area, and they sell me the contract. Sure. Whereby, let's just cut them out of it.
Yep.
I'll write you a check. I take title. We either build or restore on that property. These people are sitting in their mom's basement somewhere. I'm exaggerating for effect, but they're just sitting at a desk. They buy these lists. They do these mailings. They do these text blasts. And some people sign on. It just breaks my heart.
Yeah, so, it's good for people to know. They could call you.
That's
I mean,
right.
You're
That's
the
exactly
good
right.
starting point.
Or even if you're considering responding to one of these mailers, at least check with me and see if it's
give it a
legit,
shot.
right?
Yeah,
Like this one I got is from the other side of the state. They're not buying, they're
Yeah.
going to wholesale. They're going to, assign whatever they get under contract.
Yeah.
There's some in town that do take title and they do, quick cash closes. I know who they are. So like if anyone has a question, you're working with somebody, I'll be happy to, address that.
Yeah, I'm curious, when you hand over the keys to one of your finished homes, what's actually going through your head in that moment?
Well, admittedly, there's some relief, right? Because I'm telling you, they make it look easy on HGTV, don't they?
Yeah, right.
But I'm telling you, there's a long chain and every link has to stay together for an actual closing to take place. And I don't mean just the, construction. Half of construction, by the way, is just getting the permits. I'm telling you, like just navigating the permit process, then the construction with all its challenges in there. And then when you get something on the market and, an interested buyer, they make an offer, we get under contract. There's a whole other, chain of events that has to all fall into place, right? And everyone's got to be kept happy, and which we're good at that. But there's an old saying I've learned to abide by, and that is don't celebrate till after the check clears, because a lot can go wrong even on closing day. Admittedly, there's some relief. But I also feel like we're congratulating somebody, and and we are, because we're welcoming them into our little army of advocates, because the people who buy our houses,
they love
them.
Oh,
they love them.
Yeah.
So
your reviews are through the roof.
We've got
and
good
you can
people.
tell they're genuine. These are
Right.
genuine. Like people are genuinely happy with what you're doing. So
we're happy for them, because they're doing well.
I like that you said relief though. That was
There is.
I love the honesty.
Yeah.
And I'm also curious. What do when people hear Swan Song? They see your stuff maybe out on social. They kind of have an idea of maybe what you do or what have you. But what do people get wrong about what you do?
We often get lumped in with like big box developers and builders, right? And there's a big distinction. Look, I don't know what the dictionary definition is between like builder and developer. I haven't looked that up prior to this conversation, but the big, D.R. Hortons of the world, I'm just using that one example because they're so prominent, in our area and nationwide. I consider those the big box builders and developers, right? And it drives me crazy that, they'll buy 100 acres, just to throw a number, and it was zoned, whatever it was. Well, they'll go get it rezoned for increased density, and then they'll just strip mine it. I mean, they'll mow it down. They don't leave a single tree, And I understand why. It's actually difficult to work around the trees, We are trying and succeeding at some levels to be the anti-vinyl village, the anti-garage-scape.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. I love that. And we're just getting started here. In the next episode, we're going to get into how Swan Song actually finds the properties that they work on, and why the realtors that they work with that help them keep coming back to bring deals to them. So you're not going to want to miss that one.